Good morning, all of you.
Good morning, ma'am.
So 29 students have joined. We should start now.
Ma'am, your voice is so low.
Okay. So I was talking about we will start. So today we are starting with structures. Okay. So till now we have finished searching and sorting algorithms, and today the analysis of searching sorting is also completed. And after that, we are starting with structures. So from one first unit, only recursive function is left. Actually, recursive function can be covered in fourth unit also. So almost all topics from first unit I have covered. So little explanation of bitwise operators I want to just explain you some more programs based on bitwise operators that will cover after this structures topic. Okay. So starting with structures, I think many of you might be knowing what is structure and use of structure. So basically we have studied arrays. So array is nothing but it's a collection of similar type of data. Okay. So but many times what is the requirement is that we come across the data, the related data that is consisting of different data type. Okay. So for example, considering the student database. Okay. So I have to keep information of a particular class, or I have to keep information of complete organization. Okay. So in that case, we come across the different type of information related to one person. Okay. So it can be student name, roll number, marks. Okay. So name is represented as character array, roll number can be represented as string, or again it can be character array or integer value. Okay. And marks will be float. Okay. And all this information or all these fields are related to the same person. Okay. So that means uh, actually if we have to define structure in simple words, structure can be defined as a collection of similar or dissimilar data types. Okay. So it can be a collection of same data type. Okay. Or different data types. It's and usually it is used whenever you are coming across the different data types. So uh, structure can be defined as the collection of dissimilar data type, okay, which are related to each other. So how these structures can be represented in, okay. So the syntax for defining structure is we are using a keyword struct. Okay. So here a keyword struct is used, and that structure or this this is the keyword that we are using. Okay. So I'll just maximize this. That keyword struct is followed by structure name. Okay. So it is followed by structure name, and then the members, the data members are defined for that structure using the data type. Okay. So this is the syntax where we are using the struct keyword to define a structure. Structure name is required, and the data members corresponding to that particular structure is defined within a pair of this brace bracket, and it is terminated by semicolon. Okay. So these data types, or these are the members of the structure, can have different data type. Okay. So depending on what structure you are defining, you need to decide what are the members for those structure and what can be the data type of that particular structure. Okay, so this is syntax, and here the example is given. So example is represented actually in two different ways. Okay, so just a minute, let me select the pen. Yeah. Okay. So here, this is the structure that we have defined. This is the example. So both these examples are same. So both examples are same. That is struct book bank. Struct book bank and sorry, what is happening? So this is the structure definition. The syntax for the structure definition is represented in the first box, and next two boxes are representing actually the examples how the structure for real-time application can be defined. So here it is an example of book bank collection. Okay, so whenever you are going for here, I have considered only three fields corresponding to that structure. Okay, so it will be struct followed by the book name. Okay, or it is the structure name, that is nothing but book underscore bank is the structure name. You have to remember whenever you are using any structure name, it should be a single word. You cannot use space between book and bank. Okay, so if you want multiple word, it should be connected using some character, or it should be represented as a single word, so which is representing name of that particular structure. And within these brackets we are defining title. Title is used to get the title of book, author of the book, and what will be the price of book. So out of which these two are character type uh, members or the fields of that particular structure, and price is the float type member of a structure. So all these are known as structure members. So what this structure member and how to decide the structure member whenever you are defining any structure is that, so it is, you can imagine it is simply, it is simply the representation of a particular table. So I'm writing here. Okay, so it is nothing but it's a representation of a table. And whenever you are representing table, actually we give the title to every column. Okay, so this is just roll number, name, and marks that we have just gone through previously while discussing that one. And corresponding to this book bank, again we are defining three fields which are nothing but title. Okay, so this is title. I'll write it in short. Okay, I'm not able to write it properly, but still I'll try to show you the representation. And this is what is the price. So such form of tables you have seen. Okay, and whatever is the first row, the title row. Okay, so those are called as, these titles are called as fields of that particular table. Okay, so these fields you have to decide corresponding to each field, like roll number or title, like here author and name, what can be the data type, and based on that you need to add these fields as a structure member. Okay, so I hope this is clear what is how to define a structure. So structure is nothing but it's a collection of dissimilar data type where we are combining character array, which is nothing but string and float type data is defined for this structure. Okay, and as title, so for this title 20 characters to represent title, 15 characters or 14 maximum characters will be used to represent your author, and float will be represented as price. So whenever you declare any structure and variable corresponding to that particular structure, So memory will be allocated based on the fields that you are defining for that particular structure. Okay. So here there are three fields we have defined, out of which first two are the character, but based on that character array size of that character. So here 20 bytes for title, 15 bytes for author, and 4 bytes for price will be reserved. Okay, will be allocated. That means total size which is required to represent this particular structure is nothing but it's 20 plus 15 plus 4, which is nothing but 39 bytes will be required for representing a single variable or to store a single record corresponding to that particular structure. Now I have used one more word like record. Record is nothing but it's the information, it's the value that we are assigning to the structure members. Okay, so that is what is the title for the book, what is author, and what is price. So this complete row, is representing the record. So that record, so to store one record or one row of that particular table, we require 39 bytes of space in a memory. Okay. So depending on how many variables you create for that particular structure, now accordingly, so those many bytes will be reserved for this structure. Okay. So that is about the memory representation, or how the memory will be just used by your structure. Okay, and all these records, all the fields of this this structure are always stored in a consecutive memory location. Okay, so this is about your structure representation. Okay, so structure can be represented, again I'll just repeat, using keyword struct, name of the structure. So this is representing your name of structure. Okay, so and these are the members of that structure. Okay, so structure members, and this is end of your structure. Now there is little difference between first and second representation. In second representation I'm using one more additional keyword which is called as type def. Okay, type def struct, whenever you're using type def, so this is optional. Using structure name is optional. Okay, this is required, this is compulsory field. Okay, okay. So this book that we are defining at the end or closing of that structure definition, and between the closing of structure definition and semicolon, we have to define, we have to use a word which is representing actually the structure data type. Okay, what is difference between first and second representation is, or what is use of that type def is that using type def we are creating user defined data type. Okay, so the user defined data type here created is represented by book. So compiler will come to know that this book is data, it is represented, it will, compiler will treat that word book as a data type similar to your integer, similar to your float or character. But now that book is of structure type whose members are title, author, and price. Okay, so that means you need not have to refer that this complete structure using a keyword struct, but I can refer that complete structure using single word book. Okay, so that is the significance of this type def. So there are two ways. That means actually this is the standard way. The first, the middle rectangle, whatever is representing or whatever syntax we have seen. So that is the standard way of representing your structure. Okay. And the second is nothing but it is used to just process your programming or for writing, it will be easier to make it less complex. Okay, we are going for type def. So type def allows us to create your own data type. Using type def, you can create your own data type, for example, of any type. Okay, not necessarily it will be used for only structure. It can be used for integer also. So for integer, if I want to create a data type, for example, I don't want to use this long int every time. Instead of long int, I want to create another name for this long int, which is represented by L int. Okay, so you can directly use this L int to declare the variable, which will be treated similar to long int. Okay, so the significance of type def is to create an alias, an alternative name for the existing data type.
Excuse
Okay,
me मैम.
yes.
मैम इसकी बजाय अपन मैक्रो भी डिफाइन कर सकते हैं ना?
इसके बाद मैक्रो भी डिफाइन कर सकते हो. इसके
नहीं
बाद
मीन्स,
मैक्रो,
नहीं इसके
इट्स
बाद
नॉट.
नहीं, जो लॉन्ग इंट यूज कर रहे हैं अपन, उसके लिए एक मैक्रो भी डिफाइन कर सकते हैं ना?
यस, हैश डिफाइन करके
हैश
कर
डिफाइन
सकते.
करके लॉग इंट और
Yes.
उसके आगे नेम.
हाँ, कर सकते. उसके आगे नहीं, एलिंट
मतलब
पहले
जिस
डिफाइन
नेम से
करना
अपन को कॉल
पड़ेगा.
करना है वो पहले आएगा एंड
हाँ,
आर्गुमेंट
यस.
बाद में आएगा.
यस, यू कैन. बट हियर स्ट्रक्चर के लिए वैसे नहीं कर सकते आप.
Yes.
So this is the alternative, and structure के लिए. So I'll just show you the significance of this type def for structure next in the next slide. Okay, so you simply remember that using type def, we are creating a user defined data type called book, and that book is defined at the end of structure definition before semicolon. Okay, so this is how your structure, and usually we are going to follow this representation throughout our syllabus using type def. So you just get it clear. Whose mic is on? Okay. So you just understood the difference. You should understood the difference between the first representation and second. The first is we have simply declared the structure with book bank name and structure members, and here we have created a user defined data type for the structure book bank with name book. Okay, now how this will be used?
Ma'am, ma'am, in the second example,
बोलो बोलो.
ma'am, what is the use of you have written over there that it is optional book bank.
Huh. Book bank is optional, so it's not required there. I'll explain again here. The same thing is represented over here. So this is optional actually. So book bank, you don't require this book bank. You can skip writing that book bank actually, and even though you are defining, it's okay. So that will be considered as structure name will be ignored. So you can skip that, and that is required. We will discuss that whenever we are going for linked list. It is sometimes it is required. You should know the structure. You should know the structure name. Okay. So to define a member of that particular structure, that we'll discuss afterward. But for this particular example, that book bank is not required, and this book is representing data type. Now the difference between these three is that, so if I define this complete data structure, if I define this complete structure without type def, so while declaring the variables, now just remember that defining only structure doesn't mean that you have defined the structure variables. Okay, so that means I cannot directly access the structure members. I cannot directly write this title or author or price. So these are not the variables, but those are the structure members, and you need to first define a variable for that particular structure. Okay, So here three variables are created for structure. Okay. So these three variables are nothing but those are representing three rows of your column of your table. So just now I have drawn one table representing title, author and price as the titles for that table, for the fields for that table. And every row is nothing but it's an information of a single. So when we declare this book one, so book one is representing us the information of a single book. Then book 2 is another information of another book. Book 3 is used to represent information for the third book. Okay. So that means if I have to access any member of this structure, I need to create first, I need to declare the structure variables. And in this first case, structure variable is declared using keyword struct. Structure name is important. Structure name is required. Struct keyword is also required. Structure name is also required. And then we are giving list of variables. Just like integer a comma b comma c, here we are using struct keyword, structure name, and then this is a b c are representing the structure variable. A b c are nothing but book 1, book 2, book 3. So in this second case, uh, without type def without type def we are defining, and simultaneously whatever variables or whatever identifiers you'll use at the end of this structure definition before the semicolon, so these will be treated as those are just called as the structure variables only. Okay, so these are structure variables, but these structure variables are global structure variables. Okay, these are global, and this line can be defined if you are defining this line outside main, again it is known as global declaration. Okay, you have to remember one more thing, structure is usually defined outside main. Okay, it should be globally defined, and you can create structure variables within main or within a function. Okay, and if I'm declaring a variables along with the structure definition, so that is treated as the global variables. So here also this book 1, book 2, book 3 are the structure variables. But when I define your structure using type def, so type def struct, as I told, this is not compulsory structure name, but here structure name is compulsory, and whatever you are writing at the end of structure, those are treated as structure variables. When you are using type def, whatever you are writing after at the end of that structure before semicolon, that is called as the data type of structure. Okay, data type of this structure, and I can directly now define these three variables using a keyword book. So there is no need to use struct, there is no need to use structure name or anything. I can directly use this book similar to integer, similar to float. Okay, so this is how we can define the variables book 1, book 2, book 3. So all these three examples or three ways of representing or creating or declaring a structure variables are same. Okay. So one is, first you define complete structure without type def, then you have to make use of keyword struct and structure name, and then the list of variables. Here directly I am giving list of variables within the structure definition itself, and this is what we have created a user defined data type called book of type structure. Okay, and then we are defining this book 1 and book 3 as the variables. Is that clear? Any doubt in this? So the difference between struct and type def struct, is that clear? Yes. Yes, that is very important because here onwards we are going to use structure only. for all our examples, all our algorithms. And that the way we are using this structure is type def struct, the structure members. This is representing structure data type, and then we are declaring the structure variables. Okay. Is that clear? Any doubt in this? Anybody is having any doubt in this?
No, ma'am.
So type def structure, we have just gone through how to declare a structure or how to define a structure. Okay. So I may use declare or define word alternatively. So actually it is okay. So this is structure definition, and this is how we are defining the structure variables using struct, structure name, or the data type that you have created for that structure, and then the variable names. Okay. Now once we have declared this structure, okay, once we have declared, now I'll follow this particular convention. Okay. So the last representation of structure, once we have declared the structure or defined the structure and declared the variables. Okay. So next step is to access the structure members. So structure members can be accessed using dot operator. Suppose I want to read now that particular data type. Okay. So I want to read this values corresponding to book 1. So this is my book 1. So the first one is title. So if I have to access this particular field from that table, so it will be simply accessed as book1 dot author. Sorry, title. Okay. So second is book1 dot price. That is nothing but we are trying to assign value to this particular field, or we are trying to access this particular field, price field. Okay. So this is price, this is author, and this one is title. So when you write that as book1 dot title, so it is nothing but we are trying to access this field. Okay. And book1 dot author, we are trying to access this. Book1 dot price, as represented over here, we are trying to access this third field. Okay. So after that, how to assign values to this we know how to access the structure members. Structure members are accessed using this dot operator. So book1 dot price or book1 dot author or book1 dot title is used to access that one. Okay. So you can directly initialize your structure to default values. For example, here it has been represented for this particular structure. Even though we are considering that as defined with type def, it will be same as without type def. Okay. So type def and without type def only makes difference in declaration of variables for that particular structure. Okay. And this is how you are defining variables. So two variables for this structure is defined, book1 and book2. Now I want to assign values for this book1 variable. Is nothing but it is initialized using book1 equals to, in bracket, we are assigning values corresponding to title, then for author, and then for price. Okay. So first two are string, hence it is included within the string. Okay. Double quotes, comma, second string corresponding to author, and this is the price. This is how you can initialize your structure variable to default values. Okay. And another way of just defining or initializing your structure variable is I can declare, and there itself I can initialize. It is as good as writing int a equals to 10. Okay. And second is int a and a equals to 10. Okay. So this is what is the difference between the two structure variables that we have defined. So I used to relate structure with integer data type because it will be easier to understand. So here the A is a variable of type integer where we are declaring and initializing. So similar to this book, your book is the structure. So this book is representing the structure, and book 3 is the variable structure data type. Okay, so this is the user defined structure data type. This book 3 is the variable corresponding to that data type, and these are the values that we are assigning at the time of declaration. And this is something like we have declared here book 1 first, and that book 1 has been initialized to the next line. Okay, similar to here, A is declared, A is initialized to next line. So both ways are correct to initialize to assign the default values to this particular structure. Okay, so this is how you can initialize. And when I write here now after initializing, so if I write the printf, I want to access, I want to print these values. So how it will be printed is that it will be printed using the same way. So the first one is string, second one is also string, and the third is your float type. So for float, it will be F. So I'm printing now these three uh, values. Let us see Connectco and the price. Okay, so that is done using this particular statement. Okay, corresponding to every field, I have to represent that as percent s, percent s, percent f, comma. Now here it will be used as book 1 dot title. Okay, so title. Then your second field is book 1 dot author. So this is how you are accessing the fields or the members of a structure. Okay, and the third is it is comma book 1 dot price. This is how I can print the structure members. Okay, so this is how I can print the all three structure members. Now here the sequence you can decide because I'm using percent s corresponding to that whatever variable corresponding to this percent s whatever variable you mention, that value will be printed. So this is title corresponding to book 1, author corresponding to book 1, price corresponding to book 1. Similarly, if instead of book 1 I replace that with book 3, so it will print title corresponding to book 3, but author corresponding to book 1 and price of book 1. So that means the values will be XYZ, Connectco 215.5 will be the output given by this complete printf.
Excuse me, ma'am.
बोल
Excuse me, ma'am.
हाँ
मैम ये जो अपन ने बुक 1 में कंस्ट्रक्टर टाइप का यूज किया ये वर्क नहीं कर रहा है, एरर आ रहा है मुझे उसमें।
करेगा करेगा Who is this?
मैम अभी
हाँ, तो आपने स्ट्रक्चर कैसे डिफाइन किया है
हम टाइप डेफ
and where you are declaring these variables
मेन
and where you are printing main में. ठीक है, मैं आपको दिखाती हूँ यहाँ पे रन करके ऑनलाइन कंपाइलर.
मैम मुझे एरर ये आ रहा है कि एक्सपेक्टेड एक्सप्रेशन करके।
एक्सप्रेशन
यस मैम।
आप मेन कैसे लिखे वो एक बार वो चेक कर लो. Then we will do. So you need to give this type def here. ये जो भी declaration है, I'll check that in main.
हम डेटा टाइप का नेम भी देना होगा।
डेटा टाइप ओके यहाँ पे हाँ this is simple and then we need to add that printf. So this is how you can access here. It should be yeah, here not. तो ये आपका पूरा printf and complete program हो गया. Okay. When I run this, error
यस मैम, सेम एरर मुझे भी आ रहा है।
expected expression before bracket. Okay, that is because I think you have also copied this one. ये correct करो. String के. Get correct in your or it is giving you white color.
मैम मैंने टाइप किया था वो।
अच्छा ओके टाइप किया था still it is giving. We combine that here itself. ये next इसको भी. Now that error has been removed if you write that in a single line. Declaration and initialization. ठीक है. Okay, but as per my knowledge, declaration to next line should also be allowed. Okay, I'll check this and let you know, but time being, so you can just consider that we have to declare a variable and initialize in the same line, then you are not getting that error. Okay, and I'll check the other way. Actually, it should work. I'll check that in
हम
Eclipse.
otherwise we can use a string copy function.
Not necessary actually. When you are initializing automatically, it will consider the
नो
sequence
मैम,
in
बट
which you have defined that
हम यहाँ पर तो
particular
अपन
string.
सिर्फ एक ही वेरिएबल डिफाइन कर रहे हैं ना।
हाँ
जब अपन जैसे नेक्स्ट एक्सपेरिमेंट में अपना
नहीं, but
डेटाबेस है तो उसमें
यहाँ
अपन
पे
को
हम
बहुत सारे करने होंगे, तो इनिशियलाइज कैसे कर पाएंगे अपन उन्हें सबको?
using for loop that array that we are going to learn. Okay, structure का array करेंगे and just using for loop. So here right now you remember that initialization in this same line. यहाँ पे see here we are not using any string copy to copy your letter C या connect का. Okay, so it is giving me directly, it will be directly considering the sequence. You have to remember again, whenever you are initializing a structure variable, the sequence in which you have defined those members, though that sequence should match with the values that you are defining in that brace bracket. Okay, so both should match, and accordingly it will consider first value for title, second for author, and third for price. Whereas while displaying, it can be anything. So if you write %f, first price get displayed, but here the variable that you are defining should be book1.price. Okay, so that was your question, Abhi, or something else? Yes, Abhi,
इसमें
वही क्वेश्चन था या कुछ दूसरा था, मतलब
हाँ,
string?
मैं नहीं, मैं थोड़ा अलग करना चाह रहा था।
हाँ, ठीक है, we will discuss that. We are actually going in advance of this structure. Right now, here you can just think that this is the way, actually this is considered as the correct way of declaring or initializing your structure variable. Okay, and ये
एंड
मैं
मैम
again
इसमें सी में डायरेक्टली एक्सेस भी नहीं हो सकता ना, अगर उसे एडिट करना है स्ट्रिंग को तो?
कर सकते हैं ना, कर सकते
मैंने वो भी करके देखा, उसमें भी एरर आ रहा था मुझे कुछ।
ओके ठीक है, हम बाद में वो सारे ऑपरेशंस करने वाले हैं स्ट्रिंग पे, देन विल डिस्कस. दिस इज जस्ट द बिगिनिंग where we have right now only initialized, now only defined the structure, declared the variables and initialized the variables. Okay, now we will come to how we can okay, we'll go quickly through these rules of initializing structure. We cannot initialize individual member inside the structure template. The meaning of this is that most of you might be using Java or have been used the Java programming, where it is the concept of classes, and in that class we can initialize the variable to default value. So don't get confused with that. Okay, so you have to remember, in structure we cannot initialize a variable within the structure definition. I cannot assign values here. Okay, so these such type of declaration is invalid. We cannot do this. Okay, and that is what is the first rule of initializing your structure variable or structures. Okay, the second is the order of values enclosed in braces must match with the order of members in the structure definition. So that means, as I said, so this order, it cannot be 215 first, float value cannot be first. It should be the string value corresponding to title, string corresponding to author, and then your price. Okay, it is permitted to have a partial initialization. We can initialize only the first few members and leave the remaining blank. The uninitialized member should be only at the end of the list. Okay, so the meaning of this is that you can initialize title, only title, and you can leave author and price uninitialized. Okay, so but I cannot initialize directly price and leave title and author uninitialized. That cannot be done. You can initialize starting members and you can skip further members uninitialized. The uninitialized members will be assigned default values, that is 0 in case of integer and float, and null value for the character or string. Okay, is that clear? So I can initialize your book 3 to only two values like this. In that case, price will be 0. It will be directly taken as 0. Okay, and I can initialize that only to title. So in that case, author will be null, price will be 0. Okay, this is valid initialization. Okay, but if you are initializing only to the last member, so it will be invalid. It cannot initialize that because it cannot relate that value to title. So it will check sequence starting from first member, and that is why it is invalid. Okay, so these are few rules that you need to follow whenever you're initializing directly to default values. Okay, so that's all about structure initialization. Now I don't want to initialize, or usually we want these data to be obtained from the user. User has to enter those values. Okay, so reading the values for your structure variables or assigning values to this structure member can be done using this particular program. So here I have defined this structure called person. Okay, so the data type will be person for this particular structure, and the structure members are, the first member is name, second is year of joining actually. So in short, I have written the year, or I'll make it year of joining and salary. Okay, so this is your structure definition. Okay, where we have defined the structure and created user defined data type called person, and now the corresponding to this person, a variable is declared, which is of type structure only. Okay. And with this variable, we are trying to input the values. So I have written here input values, or you can write here input name, year of joining, and salary of a person, okay, or employee. So now here this scanf is very important that you should know when they are using or trying to or access a particular structure member. The sequence you can decide what fields you want to, or in which sequence you want to read these structure members, and accordingly you have to decide this format specifier. So all the format specifier should be included within the double quotes. Now I want to read name of a person, year of joining of that person, and salary that person is earning. Okay. So when we are accessing a name field, okay, you can observe here usually scanf. Okay, this is only no integer. Okay, so whenever we are going for integer and float variables, okay, percent %d, percent %f, so those structure members, that is year and salary, access through a structure variable p. So p dot year. So before this p dot year, we have to use ampersand. Okay, address of the year for variable p. Okay, address of for variable p. But for name, that address sign, ampersand sign, this sign is not required. And that is because your name is array of characters. So name itself is representing address of the first character for that particular variable or that field name. Okay, is that clear? So whenever we are trying to read a string value, so it is represented using percent %s. Whenever we are trying to read the field, the structure field, which is declared as an character array. So for that particular field, we have to use percent %s as the format specifier, and that field is accessed through a variable, structure variable dot that structure member, which is nothing but name, but there is no need of this and symbol. Okay, so this is how we can use this particular scanf, where you can input the values and you can display. Now check the values. Now just to clear what I'm talking, again I'll apply the same thing for this particular uh, in the same program. Okay, so we will print the initialized values as well as the values that user will enter. Okay, so I'll add here one more printf. Okay, so printf enter, sorry, title. Okay, enter title, comma, author and price. Okay, so this is end of our program, and here I need to change that one. Okay, so uh, I'll declare here another variable called p only for the same structure book, and now this will be only the change that we need to make is title. So here no ampersand for author also, because author is also array of character. Okay, so complete author, and here we need ampersand p dot price. I hope you can relate these two. So now your second format specifier should be percent %s, percent %s, percent %f, corresponding to that title, author and price. Price accessed through a variable p, and it will be before that ampersand is used. Okay, and here we are printing the same thing. it will be P. While printing, no that address of operator. Okay. So it will be written as percentage percentage percent F. Now I'll just print this one. So let us see. Connector, it has the first printf has been executed, and here it is asking for title. So I'll just random some number values I'll enter corresponding to this author, price. See here, you can see through this scanf we have assigned values to this title, author and price for variable P. That P assigned here as book P. Okay, and here the values corresponding to that book P, the second row in this display is representing whatever values you have given as input for these fields will be printed as it is. Yes, is that clear? How to uh, read values corresponding to a structure member through user. Okay, so the first thing that we have done here is we have directly initialized for a particular variable. Here we are reading the individual member of that particular structure through a variable P, and the values are assigned using scanf statement. Okay. Now here you can use different scanf for each field, or I can use scanf only to read your integer or float values and getS to read your string value. So in that getS, your getS can be written as p.name. There you can write. So write enter name of a person. Okay, and you can use this getS before this calling this grade getS printf enter name of a person getS in bracket p dot name. Okay, so this is how you can initialize or assign the values to the structure member. I hope this is clear to everyone. Okay, and in next lecture now we will see how to create the table and how to perform various operations on the table. Okay, so there will be third assignment based on this structure. So I request everyone to go through whatever we have studied or we have just studied in this lecture. Okay, revise those things. So those who don't know anything about structure, it's a request for them. Okay, and in the next lecture we will see how to create an array of a structure, how to perform various operations on that array of structure. And for that I think if required, I think we need one extra lecture, and if you are ready we can take one lecture on Saturday, that is tomorrow. So you tell me the time, suitable time for you. Yes, one lecture based on this structure to complete. That means in detail we can discuss our third experiment, all the operations properly before starting the practical in next week. So I need one extra lecture to complete the structure topic. Yes, tell me the suitable time. Otherwise, I'll put message on WhatsApp as per my convenience. And it's very important, like the topic actually structures, handling the structure database. Yes, कोई बताएगा कौन सा टाइम सूटेबल है आपको?
Ma'am, in morning.
In morning, 10 o'clock is okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
ठीक है फिर. I'll just put a message on WhatsApp also. तो कल 10 बजे एक lecture so that I can cover properly all the operations on your database. Okay? So if you are not having any doubts in this, we will stop for today. Okay.